Palestinians don't have a voice in anything, and we are their only hope. That's how I see it. But the way things are going, it just seems like people aren't paying attention anymore, and we really need to get them involved. That's where it's going to stand right now.
Do you think there's any justification in sending rockets over to Israel?
Gratification.
Is there any justification?
Well, the thing is, right, if Israel's going to attack Palestine, you expect them to retaliate. I'm not saying it's a right thing, it's not a right thing, but if anyone was to attack Britain, we would retaliate as a British society, British community. We would feel the need to protect our nation. Do you know what I mean?
Wouldn't it be best, instead of sending rockets on both sides, to sit down and talk peace?
Yeah, that would be the ideal situation. But right now, it's about capitalism. It's nothing but capitalism. Society has nothing to do with anything. The society wants peace, but the governments aren't going to allow that because it comes down to money and greed.
With innocent civilians dying on both sides, where do we go from here?
Hopefully the shooting will ultimately stop. I mean, we want peace. But the main difference is that Israel has been targeting purely military targets and Hamas has been targeting civilians.
The Palestinians feel they're justified because they feel they're an oppressed nation.
Well, Israel got out of the Gaza Strip in 2005. If they'd wanted peace, the Gaza Strip would have thrived. It's only because they've been determined to fight that they haven't been thriving in the way they should have been. That said, the life expectancy standard of living is a lot better even in the Gaza Strip than it is in a lot of the Arab world.
And why do you think they send rockets over to Israel then?
Well, Hamas are an extreme terrorist organisation, but I don't think the people actually want those rockets. The people of Gaza actually want them to do that. I think that's the decision of a terrorist organisation which runs Gaza.
We achieve peace when the international society stop the Israelis from what they are doing against the civilians in Gaza. If the international society and the governments of the Western countries, if they want peace, they should ask Israel to stop the war on Gaza, because when they declare the war on Gaza, that means they are declaring the war on the international peace.
Do you think the rockets going from Gaza to Israel should stop as well?
It is kind of legal, kind of resisting the occupation, because the occupation is the problem. The occupation is...
But these rockets are killing innocent people, aren't they?
We are against killing the innocent people everywhere, but we consider what the Palestinians are doing is a reaction for the Israeli action against Gaza.
Is it possible for both parties to sit down and talk peace?
There should be peace, but no peace without the people of Palestine returning back to their homelands. There will be no peace without the Israelis stop the aggression against the Palestinians.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think that the world just needs to recognise that Israel is a legitimate state and it needs to defend itself when it needs to, and we should give them freedom to do that legitimately. You know, it's had 140 rockets fired at it in the last 4 days. I think if that happened to London, we'd expect there to be a reaction. So
the Palestinians feel it's justified because they feel they are an oppressed people.
Well, I think that they are an oppressed people, but I think largely the oppression does not come from the Israelis. I think they're very oppressed by Hamas. I think there's a history of them being oppressed. If you just look at where the funding is going, for one thing, I feel very sorry for them. I do think they are an oppressed people, but I don't think it's Israel's fault.
Okay, thank you very much.
But, I would like to say for the record that the United States has been hijacked by the Israeli lobby, Zionism, and Zionism is completely different to Judaism. There is no link whatsoever. And I feel that the Zionists that control Israel and the United States have hijacked the Holocaust. If you look at Norman G. Finkelstein's book, The Holocaust Industry, this is a prominent feature of what's happening, which have been happening over the last probably 40 or so years.
Are you hopeful for peace?
Well, the thing is, what is peace? I mean, our media will only give us a one-sided view of what is really going on. I mean, if you look at the BBC, Sky News, in particular the Zionist-controlled American media, CNN, NBC, if you like, the ultimate gutter journalism of Fox News, you know, they will present this story that it's just bombs raining down like a firework display, but they will not home in to show you what's actually really going on. But I think I'm right in saying that there are 3 Israelis killed in Israel today, and of course that's featured heavily. You know, you've got photographers on the ground level showing victims, but you don't see the victims on the Palestinian side. And this is the problem. So because people are going away with this false image, I think, of what's really going on.
But Israel has to stop Hamas firing rockets and missiles into southern Israel. No sovereign nation could take what's going on, and Israel has the right to defend itself.
There is an opinion that the Israelis are oppressing the Palestinians.
Well,
and these rockets coming over to Israel are justified.
Well, since 2001, there's been 12,800 missiles into Israel, 8,000 since 2005 when Israel left. Israel offered the hand of peace, and in return, we've been met with hate. Israel does not want to kill any Palestinian civilians. It does not want to cause this. But Hamas is firing from civilian areas and is using them as human shields. They are the ones who are killing their own Palestinian people because they hate Israel more than they care for the Palestinians.